The latest public version was released 5 years ago, and a legend was born 15 years ago. The Plants vs. Zombies player community eagerly awaits the day when their favorite game will return, bringing wonderful experiences like before. As if listening to that wish, on January 17, 2024, the game publisher unexpectedly revealed Plants vs. Zombies 3, Welcome to Zomburbia, for certain nations, with plans to release it globally later this year. But no, it resulted in even more disappointment and effectively ended dreams of restoring this once popular brand. So, what about Plants vs. Zombies 3 that bored gamers? Find out in today's video. Start! 1. Plants vs. Zombies Death. Plants vs. Zombies was officially released at the end of 2009, attracting millions of players around the world and becoming PopCap's best-selling game, because of the basic yet strategic gameplay, colorful graphics, and catchy soundtrack. It is easy to see why this game garnered so many compliments and was dubbed the best strategy game of all time by the electronic entertainment industry. Plants vs. Zombies remains a childhood legend for many generations. However, after selling itself to EA Games, PopCap slowly lost itself. In short, the once famous icon has declined as a result of poor commercial strategy, leaving lasting regret in the hearts of fans. However, EA Games quickly realized that gamers needed a game that could inherit conventional gameplay rather than horrible new games. EA decided to release a real alpha test version of Plants vs. Zombies 3 in July 2019, but only in the United States and Canada. I thought we had some hope that they could resurrect an old masterpiece, but this is a huge disappointment for gamers. For some reason, the development team switched the game from a horizontal to a vertical screen, which appears quite unpleasant. Poor quality 3D visuals make the game tough to play while also making it look unsightly, even more terrible than the first portion of the game from 10 years ago. Gamers are even more disappointed when the game abandons growing sunflowers to get the sun. Each plant also has its level system, and gamers must level up each plant separately. This greatly diminishes the tactical aspect, while also creating the ideal opportunity for EA to sell level upgrade packages. To be exact, gamers must spend a lot of money to overcome challenges. With all of those negative aspects, it's easy to see why this version earned so many curses and criticisms. Given the negative situation, PopCap had to fix it by starting everything over. 2. The Second Revival. 5 years later, on January 7, 2024, the severely criticized game has taken on a radically different appearance. With the name Plants vs. Zombies 3, Welcome to Zomburbia, the game was officially launched and tested in several countries, including the United Kingdom, the Netherlands, Australia, and the Philippines. To demonstrate that the developer is always listening to the community's feedback, they corrected items not being good, which makes their brainchild worse. The first step is to revert the game to its original horizontal screen format. For a complicated defense game, the vertical screen limits the essence of the gameplay. They made the error of putting everything on that limited screen area, which made the 2019 edition of the game exceedingly unsightly and inconvenient to play. They also switched from 3D graphics to 2.5D. The 2.5D graphics are also fairly poor, perhaps not as excellent as the original game, but far superior to before the update. Anyway, everyone has their own viewpoint, so I won't say too much about the game design. In your opinion, is it ugly or beautiful? Please leave a comment below the video. The next good news is that PopCap has reintroduced Sunflower and changed the in-game currency to make it easier for players to measure resources. In prior versions, each normal sun provided 25 points, and each flower's price increased proportionately. For example, a walnut costs 50, a pea shooter costs 100, and a melon pulp costs 300. With some special stages that need you to place trees first, we will spend a lot of time distributing resources. The larger the number, the easier it is to get confused. However, in Plants vs. Zombies 3, they are significantly simpler. Each sun is now worth 1 point, while plants cost between 1 and 5 points, making computations faster. This modification is not so important for people familiar with the original game. Nevertheless, for new players, or children playing Plants vs. Zombies 3 for the first time, this change has a significant impact. The development team worked hard to find ways to adapt so that each section of their game has its distinct qualities that exist independently of one another, allowing everyone to fully enjoy it without having to play through past versions. This gives many people, including me, hope for the revival of a legendary game. However, after a few hours of playing this game, I truly don't know what to say. This entire game feels like a joke. The things I just listed are the only bright spots in it. 3. The plot is redundant. In earlier Plants vs. Zombies games, the development team was solely focused on gameplay and improving the player experience, so the plot is not invested too much. The only thing we know is that we planted trees with a neighbor named Crazy Dave to defend ourselves against hungry zombies. That's all. Anyway, few people care or expect a defense strategy game to have a compelling storyline. Sometimes it's better not to have it because you won't have to hit the skip button while playing. Plants vs. Zombies 3 follows its own course. It has a plot that spans the entire game. It all began with Crazy Dave's niece Patrice Blazing embarking on a summer excursion with her classmates. Crazy Dave had to stay at home alone, was duped into eating a wrecked cake, and then went asleep like a dead. However, instead of consuming our fat neighbor, as they had done throughout the series, the zombies simply destroyed his house. Patrice arrived home 3 months later to see a scene of desolation. She wasn't sure what else to do, so she woke up her uncle. That's correct, Crazy Dave slept for 3 months straight after Patrice departed. Uncle and niece, together with their robot, planned to restore the town while keeping the zombies from taking over everything. For some reason, the development team mimicked Homescape, a mobile game known for its low-quality advertisements, causing players to misinterpret the genre and gameplay while still making enormous profits. After completing a level, the game will award you a purple ticket that may be used to enter plot passages that disclose tale developments and unlock more town-building features. Fortunately, Plants vs. Zombies 3 allows us to avoid those dull stories. In addition, we can accumulate tickets for a flexible experience at your discretion. For example, complete 10 consecutive levels before beginning the plot, or play while reading it. However, I don't see why PopCap spent that money on hiring a scriptwriter to write the redundant plot rather than focusing on gameplay, enhancing quality, or at least adding intriguing features to the game. But not. They ended up copying the low-cost home decoration games that are currently available on mobile devices. I believe this is a significant letdown for fans who enjoy the game. Who needs a redundant tale in a game like this? Most of us play Plants vs. Zombies because it's entertaining, not because the story is complex. Perhaps PopCap is a famous game company, but the gameplay must also be borrowed from other games like Homescape. Oh my god, what a funny truth. 4. The gameplay is old and boring. After a string of failed attempts to imitate low-cost games, PopCap was forced to revert to its traditional defense strategy game genre. Indeed, they were made good on their promise with this latest game. Players will withstand the onslaught of bloodthirsty zombies by growing and utilizing the power of plants. Every variety of plants has a distinct ability. Some plants concentrate on taking out individual targets. Some other plants cause broad damage, but can only be used once. Some plants are born to form barriers against enemies. As we go through the levels, we will unlock new plants that steadily boost our strength. The experience is constantly new and challenging, and if all of this sounds familiar, it's because this is the gameplay from Plants vs. Zombies 1. The development team only needs to copy it intact into the most recent section. In the original game, if you want to know what abilities a new plant or monster has, you must select them in subsequent rounds. You cannot predict how that tree will look ahead of time. The production team appears to believe that this is frustrating for players, hence the new edition includes numerous tasks simply to present the essentials. For example, how to grow different types of plants, how to guard against zombies, and so on. It doesn't sound too bad until you realize that there are too many instructions. The game forces us to perform each instructed move exactly. That's accurate. Plants vs. Zombies 3 constantly directs players in a precise manner to complete dozens of stages with relatively basic difficulty. I was very annoyed by this. The game didn't care about my sentiments, making the first hour extremely uninteresting. Even though approximately 5 years have gone by, the number of plants in the game remains relatively few. Plants vs. Zombies 3 had a total of 16 plants available when I made this video, but only 12 were ready to play. They are the plants that have appeared in earlier game versions, not new ones. Meanwhile, there were 49 plants in Plants vs. Zombies 1 and nearly 200 in Plants vs. Zombies 2. This is a significant reversal progression. However, what irritates fans the most is the lack of freedom to choose plants based on personal preferences. Now, at each stage, you will be given specific sorts of plants, forcing you to use them to overcome challenges without knowing whether they are appropriate for your playing style or strategy. I know that this adjustment will make it easier for individuals who are just getting started with the game. However, for players who have been playing this game for a long time, this move is like looking down on them as if they are incapable of selecting the appropriate plants. Remember that this is a strategy game and everyone will play differently, yet the development team destroyed all of the gamers' ingenuity and creation. It doesn't end there. Although there are 150 levels, they all seem to be very similar. The primary objective is to ensure that you thoroughly comprehend all 16 crop types in the game. Although there are some extra mechanisms, they do not produce a new sensation. For all of the reasons stated above, even though it was announced as a soft launch version, it cannot hide Plants vs. Zombies 3's flaws and pathetic nature. 5. Pay to win brazenly. Although I mentioned that Plants vs. Zombies 3 is too easy, this only applies to the tutorial beginning levels. Later on, the game's difficulty will gradually escalate to ludicrous levels. Furthermore, not being able to select plants based on your style and strategy complicates overcoming challenges. The high-end zombies emerge quickly and in large numbers, easily smashing through Sunflower's poor protection barrier. Furthermore, instead of having a lawnmower working as life insurance like the previous game, Plants vs. Zombies 3 only has a robot that destroys all opponents standing in the row where it is standing and can only be used once. For example, if we put it in the wrong row, we will lose. This does not make the game more fascinating or difficult, but rather increases the gamer's discomfort. Not only that, but they know gamers enjoy being acknowledged for their efforts. Plants vs. Zombies 3 includes a column crash course mode, which is essentially a ranking system based on points earned throughout the game. It demands players defeat the zombies at the correct location of the sign in the top column of the field. If you give up or lose, you will suffer a significant loss of points. So, what should we do to overcome it? It's pretty simple. Pay money to acquire items that will help you overcome obstacles more easily. The game even offers a beginning pack that is presently 70% discounted. I'm sure EA will release many new plants in the future, but they'll only be available for purchase. The inning limit mechanism is not new anymore, and it can be found in practically each gacha game. Their purpose advertised by game companies is to keep gamers, particularly children, from spending so much time playing games that they forget to go to work and school. In truth, this is a fantastic pretext for the publisher to sell inning to extort money from wealthy gamers. In other words, if you play too much, you'll run out of resources. The game only allows you 5 consecutive innings, similar to the well-known game Candy Crush. If you run out, it takes a long time to revive once. If you don't want to wait, you can use money to buy. This significantly impacts the gaming experience and causes discomfort for gamers. Imagine you're having fun playing a game, then you lose because the difficulty rises several times, but you can't keep playing right away. This is an extremely frustrating problem. And you know, Plants vs. Zombies 2 is well known for its pay-to-win system, but not this much. In short, PopCap has disappointed gamers once more. The masterpiece that they were always proud of is now merely a game with a really horrible experience, and people who once liked it so much have criticized it heavily. If you want to have the best Plants vs. Zombies experience, I recommend playing the 2009 edition. Trust me, don't play Plants vs. Zombies 3 because it's terrible. Today's video ends here. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to the Stranger Games channel to ensure you don't miss any videos. Goodbye, and we'll see you again.